So one of the things that I'm really excited about is the new kinds of PrEP which are in the pipeline, because hopefully, maybe next year, maybe in 2022, we will have injectable PrEP. Now, injectable PrEP means that you will be able to have an injection probably just twice a year, and that will actually provide sufficient protection and be the same level of protection probably about as oral PrEP, perhaps even a bit more, just because it makes it that much easier for people to be adherent, because they don't actually have to remember to take it on a daily basis or on the 2-1-1 basis if they're doing it on demand. And I'm really, really excited about this because I think that it's going to really help people who struggle with kind of, remembering to take their pills. And it's also really good for people who maybe want to be more discreet about it. I think that some of the stigma which is attached to HIV has unfortunately become attached to PrEP use. And actually, so if people can do it in that very discreet way, then it kind of gets rid of some of those challenges. And we've seen some really good data come out of these PrEP implementation trials in Southern Africa, where we've seen much, much greater impact of PrEP as a result of these new formulations. But it's not just injectables, which are really exciting. There's also implants in the offing. That's probably another couple of years away still. And there's also new oral PrEP, new pills, which you'd probably need to take. I mean, I think that they reckon that if you just take one pill, that should give you protection for about 2 months. But they're probably going to recommend that people take it on a monthly basis, just because it might be easier to remember if you always take it on the first day of the month. I think where we're at with PrEP, I mean, it's been really great to see big take up of PrEP, particularly amongst gay and bisexual men. I think it's been frustrating that we haven't seen other communities take it up to that same extent. But even amongst gay and bisexual men, I don't think we're still fully realizing the potential of it yet. And I think there are still people, perhaps because of thinking it's not for them, or because they're worried about some of the stigma that's attached to it, they're not accessing it yet. So I think it's really important that, we kind of talk about testing, we talk about PrEP, and we talk about U equals U as part of that same conversation, because there are ways that we can prevent everyone from acquiring it, and we can work ways we can ensure that no one is able to pass it on. And I think this is kind of very exciting. It's not about saying, oh, this is just for HIV negative men. I think when we get all of that range of prevention opportunities that we have, and we combine those forces, that's where we're really going to have that impact, because we're kind of close now to stopping it, and that really excites me.
Absolutely.
Definitely silence.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, shall I?
I think elements as well of PrEP. Oh, mine really terrible.
Shame. Oh, never mind. Shall I make? Okay.
Can someone talk about PrEP fatigue?
PrEP.
Yeah. Why not? I don't mind if I'm going to say something. I'll try and make it as short as possible after Matthew. It's going to be. I don't know how they're going to do this, but anyway, hopefully they'll come. But yeah. Okay. So no, and I think Matthew, it's so true. I mean, I think that it's a really exciting time in terms of drug innovation. There's in terms of drug innovation, drug technology. The future is certainly looking bright, and as you said, and different methods of drug delivery. I think there's also talk about microarray patches for children in terms of drug delivery, and implants, and as you said, and if people aren't happy with intramuscular injections like with cabotegravir that we know, then there might be, like you said, the oral tablet that you can take once a month. So it's looking really exciting and really bright, and I guess we could really leap forwards with that innovation, and then it's going to be looking at how we implement it. And like you said, we've had success in certain populations in high-income countries. We haven't seen that success get translated across the globe, particularly in countries where they have a far higher prevalence of HIV. I think, you know, there's a lot more, you know, there's some big visions that we, you know, we really need to create with ourselves, with physicians, with community, with peers, with industry, with governments. You know, we need wider, bigger visions, just as you said, to kind of to end this, you know, to make it a situation where everyone gets access to effective PrEP that works for them, so that they're not at risk of acquiring HIV anymore. And as you said, that is totally possible. But there's so many challenges and barriers, and we need to really think far cleverer and work better to make that happen.
I think that last line is the big key point, really, isn't it? If you look at the battle that we had to make PrEP freely available to people who need it, not the UK, but Scotland, you know, they really charged ahead. But certainly in England, the battle that we had to make PrEP available for free to people who need it was outrageous. And I don't want to rain on the parade or pee on the bonfire, but I would imagine that when these new technologies do come to market, that it's going to be very, very difficult for us to convince those in power and those making those decisions and those spending that money that this is worth investing in. I think we're going to find ourselves back in the trenches again, as we were before. And there is obviously that battle between cost effectiveness and what some people will consider improvement of lifestyle for people living with HIV or people vulnerable to it. But it's certainly a fight that I'm tired, I'm very tired, but it's a fight that I feel is not over yet. It's certainly not over by a long shot.
I mean, if you look at those studies from sub-Saharan Africa, is particularly amongst PrEP use among women, and the impact we saw for the injectables over the oral PrEP, it was 66% better. Now, obviously, when I say that, I want to be really, really clear that, you know, oral PrEP absolutely works if you take it, and the 66% better was as a result of adherence rather than the pills are incredibly effective. I don't want people to hesitate or doubt that, but it is about how do we support adherence, and I think it is about finding a variety of strategies which suit the individual. I think something else I would just want to mention is people often ask me, you know, about HIV vaccines. Oh, when are we going to have a vaccine against HIV? And that, you know, there's some very exciting possibilities being explored at the moment. But let's not lose sight of the fact that we actually have something which kind of is pretty much like a vaccine already. And I think part of that challenge has been that we've all got used to talking about vaccines, thinking of it like measles or mumps and rubella, you know, like, oh, you do it once and then it's done. One thing we've all got from COVID is that we're all a little bit more medically literate. And we have right now, we have a COVID vaccine. We all talk about it. We all know about it. We all know that it's not totally effective. And we all know that actually you need to have more than one dose. And so when we're talking about PrEP, which you might kind of have as an injectable twice a year, well, with COVID, I'm already on my third dose. So, and that's in the space of a year. So I think it's that we're starting to kind of move on with that language. Obviously, PrEP isn't a vaccine. The biological way it functions is very different, but it's kind of equivalent and it's so effective. It's so much more effective than the COVID vaccine, for an example. So I think it's just a really exciting opportunity for us to be able to prevent new HIV infections.
And just tying in that kind of concept of adherence and availability of kind of long actings, one of the things that we're seeing at the moment is this concept of PrEP fatigue. So people who stop PrEP because they no longer think they're at risk of HIV and then acquiring HIV, and that kind of, what can we do to manage that? So again, is that side effects? Is it difficulties in taking PrEP? Is it just that you're out on Friday night and you kind of been fluid with your daily to intermittent dosing? And what can we do to support that, you know, fatigue aspect of using PrEP and making sure that we can support those who might have individual needs, and if there's something better that suits them. So absolutely. And how do we address that? I don't know if anyone's got any thoughts about it.
Well, I think implants are going to be a very exciting development in that, because I mean, actually just imagine having something which you only do once a year and then you're sorted. And I think it is I mean, I guess because I'm on HIV treatment, and so you know, every time I take my treatment every day, it's a bit of a reminder. And I'm like so bloody brazen about living with HIV. I don't give a whatever about it anymore. But I do know that for other people, it's still a bit of a kind of a mental challenge. So I kind of get that with people with PrEP, that might also be that kind of like, oh, how do I feel about this? Oh, I need to think about my sex life. If you can remove that element where you have to kind of like reconsider or reappraise your relationship to the pill you're taking, then I think that might make it a lot simpler for many people. And again, this isn't about saying, oh, well, we should put everyone on implants or we should give everyone injections, because it may be that isn't right for some people. But I think it's always about providing choice. When you can offer choice, then you're going to be able to meet the needs of more diverse communities.
This is a really interesting topic, because in effect, from 2015 to now, so over the last 6 years, in effect, what we've done is catalyzed a community-wide behavioral change. So with the introduction of PrEP and the results from partner studies, so we know that U equals U, when you're undetectable, you can't pass on HIV. We kind of removed the necessity, for want of a better word, of the condom. And so we have, as a byproduct of that, we've seen community-wide behavioral change, but what we haven't really paid enough attention to is those people who do fall through the cracks. And it might not be that they can't adhere to daily PrEP or can't adhere to the daily medication. It might be something else, it might be something social and mental health related. So I know certainly for me, I never struggled with adherence, but over the last 18 months, I had a particularly bad patch of mental health, and my adherence to my HIV medication was not ideal, and it's never been like that. So it wasn't actually the pills or fatigue, it was something else. And I think, you know, in the flurry and the excitement of a biomedical age of HIV prevention and treatment as prevention, we've kind of lost a little bit of that needing to look after the person as well. We sometimes, and especially the most vulnerable of us, tend to fall through the cracks at the minute. So it would be nice to see some community-led, properly funded initiatives that deal with that around adherence and mental health and better social health and a better sex life and pleasure, and on and on and on. If we look after those bits, we might not need to look after the fatigue and the recently and avoidable acquired HIV infection.
Well, I mean, one thing I think we really should trumpet with PrEP is that the reason we have PrEP now in England is because community activists, including someone who's on this call, really picked up that baton and made sure that it happened. We had to go against a government ruling, as an NHS ruling, and I think we might need that level of activism again in terms of ensuring that we have proper choices available, because this isn't about, you know, some of that language that was used against PrEP was so offensive, because it's actually about people who are wanting to take control of their health, and we should be doing everything we can to support, equip, and empower people to take control of their health.
Yeah.
I was
just going to quickly just to say, because I think, you know, I think exactly what you were saying, Matthew and Greg, what you were part of, what you were both part of. I mean, the people power with PrEP, when we go back a number of years, it was, you know, a social phenomena really that should and will go down in history. But I think, and that lifts us. But I think we need to keep on. We need that energy. That energy needs to continue. And I think it might have changed, you know, arguably in the UK, how that energy's changed, because there's a different battle now. There are different challenges now. But for different parts of the world, actually, we are way back, where we're even further back to where the UK and England were in 2015 or 2016. And we absolutely need that energy. And there are individuals in those settings that need to see this and understand it, understand how it works. Of course, that's difficult to translate into their setting, but actually, you know, people power. What frustrates me a lot sometimes is we often get a lot of, you know, where in places I've worked where it's, you know, there is this answer of, well, we can't do what you've done. And I completely understand that. And we need a deeper level of understanding of why that is. What are the multi-layers of why you can't do what we did? And yes, it's politics. Yes, it's infrastructure. Yes, it's geography, health systems, poor resources, people in power, etc., etc. But, you know, people power, you know, speaks volumes. And, you know, we need that energy. They need that energy. That needs to be translated. There's a lot we talk about science being translated, drug industry, innovation being translated. You know, social movements do need to be translated. I'm not sure they're always done in the best way that are suited to certain other communities. Doesn't matter, that the energy is there and people, you know, feel the energy. Just, you know, it's an ongoing thing.
I think that ties in perfectly with the whole campaign is people power and getting people aware about PrEP. That is a nice 360, I think, coming back to, you know, the idea of this week and hopefully these series of videos and I suppose some really practical advice for people watching in terms of restarting PrEP, you know, 2 pills at least 2 hours before having sex. Make sure that you're having a daily pill whilst having sex and continue for at least 2 days after, as in continue PrEP for at least 2 days after your last sexual episode. So that stop-start rules are incredibly important to make sure that people are aware about how to do that. Particularly, we've seen kind of changes of how people manage your PrEP use, like you say, Greg, absolutely, you know, to suit lifestyles, and let's make this individualistic care. And also, I think, you know, knowing where to go. So definitely, if you're struggling in any way or you feel worried about toxicities or anything at all, you've obviously had a few sources, hopefully, of information to go to. I mean, obviously, the people on this panel have got useful FAQs and places to read about other new
Go
forms.
to the NAM website. Don't come to me. Go to the NAM website.
Don't contact me. Go to the website.
Fair enough. 2 websites which are rich in information, but of course seeking support from your local PrEP clinics, I think is something to kind of stress, of course, for everybody who might be worried or have kind of hesitancies or any questions, and that's what we're there for as well. And I suppose just last thoughts from everybody, really.
I have a question. What's your ask, Vicky? So this PrEP awareness, let's get on PrEP. Is that your hashtag? Get on PrEP?
Get on PrEP, hashtag.
What's your ask? What are we asking people watching this to do? Apart from not contact me on Twitter, what are we asking people watching the video to do?
So I suppose it's looking at whether, if you're not on PrEP, kind of wondering if that is something that you'd like to do, and if you're something unsure of, coming and finding out if that is something that would be appealing to you. So Dietrich, you've got a series of events to help support those when you start PrEP, also get back onto PrEP if that's an issue, but also nationally support. So of course, if you're not living in London or you live locally to a clinic, how to access that. So information will be going out this week. And if you could find somebody that doesn't know about PrEP and tell them about it, that would be, I think, an agreement from the whole panel. What a phenomenal thing it would be if we use the power of people for this.
We have this phenomenal resource. We have a community, and if we can just energize the community, just say the old phrase which we used to use in gay men's health was shag one, nag one. So every time you have sex with someone, just talk to them about PrEP, talk to them about U equals U, because that's actually how we can make change. Because, you know, we are such sluts that we will get that message out to everyone in a very short amount of time.
Okay, I have something not so long ago, so I am gonna, because we're coming up to World AIDS Day now, depending when you watch this video, coming up to World AIDS Day or just after World AIDS Day. So I'm just going to give a note to World AIDS Day to the people that have come before and sadly who are no longer with us, and the hope that we have for the future. And one thing I will say is that although this is PrEP Awareness Week, if you are nervous about a test, or if you suspect you might have HIV, or if you go to start PrEP and you get a HIV positive result, don't worry. It's not the end of the world. Breathe. Try to stay calm. We look after you. There's plenty of support out there from community and peer-to-peer. You certainly can reach out to me if you need support with that. I'm always more than happy to take those messages on Twitter. And you can also reach out to Terence Higgins Trust and use their THT Direct phone line or email service if you've been recently diagnosed, you're anxious, or you get a HIV positive result at some point in the future. We're all there for you.
That's perfect timing. With starting PrEP, please get your HIV test. Starting PrEP, perfect. And Katie, last thought?
I guess to say, you know, I think, yeah, the future is bright in terms of other ways of providing PrEP. long-acting formulations, different ways of giving the drug. But I will say that, you know, this works. What we have works. And actually, it may be the right thing for you, even compared to what's out there. Yeah, so get on PrEP.
Perfect. I like that last as a parting thought. It works. It definitely works. So a huge thank you to all three of you. Thank you so much for joining, and all the technical issues that we've had, kind of trying to sort this out, as always, in the modern age of COVID.
Oh,
This
I'm so
session
bright.
will be without it.
I've suddenly got brighter as it gets darker.
Perfect. Thank you very much, everybody.
All right. Bye.
Bye.